the chair approves the reordering.
I have to ask, Your Honors,
No,
the
that's not
teams
acceptable. No.
in charge.
You come to court.
Discrepancy of at least
determined that
with knowledge is unexplained wealth, then we will object, Your Honor.
Yeah, in the meantime, we'll go first to Andre Figuracion. He's standing by live at the Supreme Court. Andre?
Jing Pia, the Supreme Court employees are in a fighting stance, wearing red at the start of the impeachment trial's third week. The High Court's employees and justices, including Chief Justice Renato Corona, gathered at the quadrangle for their flag ceremony this morning. Corona did not address the crowd after the ceremony. We saw him talking to a group of employees instead. Then he waved to the crowd. Then he went to the crowd and went into the SC building afterwards. Supreme Court Employees Association President Jojo Guerrero says the color red symbolizes their vigilance over the impeachment proceedings at the Senate. Guerrero praised Senate President and Presiding Officer Juan Ponce Enrile for handling the trial well and fair. He adds they want to show support to their co-employees who are being called as witnesses in the trial. Guerrero says the administration is trying to demonize its enemies by threatening the High Court's justices, Court Administrator Midas Marquez, and other SC officials. Guerrero denied that the SC is a source of graft and corruption. He criticized Akbayan Party List Representative Walden Bello's filing of a complaint against Marquez last Friday for alleged abuse of power. He says they are also monitoring the impeachment complaint against Associate Justice Mariano del Castillo. The House Justice Committee, headed by Congressman Neil Tupas Jr., will resume hearing the case tomorrow. Meanwhile, Supreme Court employees will hold novena masses for Chief Justice Corona starting today at 4:30 in the afternoon. And that is the story from the Supreme Court, Manila. Jing, Pia.
Thank you, Andre Figuracion, live from the Supreme Court. All right, we'll take in this live report first from Andre Figuracion. He's reporting live from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, as Andre is going to say, is expected to resolve issues related to the impeachment trial of Chief Justice Corona. Andre?
Some pending issues today, including those related to the impeachment trial of Chief Justice Renato Corona. The High Court's spokesman, Jose Midas Marquez, has said that the en banc may rule on the issue of justices and other High Court officials being asked to appear as witnesses before the impeachment court. The prosecution on Friday released a list of possible witnesses to be subpoenaed, including Associate Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno and Court Administrator Midas Marquez. Now Marquez has said that he will attend the trial if he receives a subpoena from the Senate Impeachment Court. He adds that petitions for the issuance of a temporary restraining order to stop the impeachment trial may also be taken up by the en banc today. We'll just be waiting for an official press briefing by Marquez, and we'll give you more details as soon as we get them from the information from the resolutions of the en banc today. Pia?
Thank you. Andre Figuracion reporting live from the Supreme Court.
We'll get back to Dean Amado Valdez. In the meantime, we're going to go to the Supreme Court. Andre Figuracion is there with the latest. Andre, what do you have for us?
Jing, Pia, we saw very tight security around the Corona residence in Saviorville Avenue, corner Esteban Abada Street in Quezon City this morning. Solar News was trying to ask Chief Justice Renato Corona of his thoughts or reactions to the impeachment trial at the Senate after 2 weeks of trial. but the security personnel who were in charge of Corona declined to give any information about on his whereabouts. The Corona residence is part of a compound with unleased apartments and an old restaurant. Several vehicles left the house in batches as if to distract whoever was trying to follow them. Corona arrived at the Supreme Court at 10:45 this morning with his wife Maria Cristina. Corona is wearing a gray long-sleeved barong while Mrs. Corona is wearing a blue blazer over black. Since our cameras are not allowed inside the Supreme Court offices, this reporter tried to catch Corona on his way to the elevator. We introduced ourselves, but before we could even ask a question, Corona refused to talk, raising his left arm, and he turned away. We also saw defense lawyer Jose Roy III leaving the SC earlier this afternoon. Roy says he met the Chief Justice briefly in his office and adds that Corona is 100% satisfied with the impeachment proceedings so far. And this is the story from the Supreme Court in Manila. Jing, Pia.
Thank you, Andre Figuracion, reporting live from the Supreme Court. Pia? Supreme Court employees continue to show their support for Chief Justice Renato Corona. Andre Figuracion is reporting live from the Supreme Court via our live 3G cam. Andre?
Chief Justice Renato Corona thanks Supreme Court employees after their flag-raising ceremony this morning. Corona did not address the entire crowd, but he shook hands with some of them, saying thank you for their prayers and support. Corona only smiled back to members of the media when he was being asked questions. Associate Justices Jose Mendoza, Jose Perez, Martin Villarama, and Estela Perlas Bernabe were also present this morning. Supreme Court Employees Association Vice President Willie Desamero says employees continue wearing red today to unite and fight for the Chief Justice as he undergoes the impeachment trial. Meanwhile, Bayan Muna Party List Representative Nery Colmenares met Justice Secretary Laila De Lima earlier at the Department of Justice. Colmenares, who is among the House prosecutors, says he came to meet De Lima upon Senate President Juan Ponce Enriquez's directive to confer with their witnesses before the trial. He says De Lima is ready to testify when she is summoned by the impeachment court. Colmenares says De Lima's testimony is important in proving that the Supreme Court's temporary restraining order against the DOJ watch list orders was rushed. De Lima shall testify under Article 7 of the impeachment complaint, referring to the High Court's issuance of a TRO, allowing Pampanga Representative Gloria Arroyo and Attorney Mike Arroyo to travel abroad. Colmenares says they might present Article 7 on Wednesday next week, but their schedule will depend on the objections to be raised by Corona's defense panel. And this is the story live from the Supreme Court. Pia, Jing.
Thank you, Andre Figuracion, reporting live from the Supreme Court.
Ruling. In the meantime, we'll go first to Andre Figuracion. He has a live report. Some lawyers asking for the inhibition of one or two center judges. Andre?
Pia, two lawyers who have asked the Supreme Court earlier to stop the impeachment of Chief Justice Renato Corona are now asking two justices to inhibit from the case. Before 3 o'clock this afternoon, lawyers Homobono Adaza and Alan Pagia filed before the Supreme Court for Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio and Associate Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno to inhibit from the deliberations of their petition to stop Corona's impeachment trial. Their petition states that among legal circles, Carpio was a known rival of then Associate Justice Corona before Corona was appointed Chief Justice by former President Gloria Arroyo. In Corona's speech last month, he also referred to a member of the High Court who has been longing to be Chief Justice as one of the proponents of his impeachment. They also state that Sereno is a known favorite by President Aquino to replace Corona if ever he gets convicted by the impeachment court. Sereno staunchly opposed the High Court's issuance of a temporary restraining order in November last year, allowing Pampanga Representative Gloria Arroyo to travel abroad. Both Adaza and Pagia say that Justices Carpio and Sereno cannot be impartial in deciding the case. Pagia says they are not siding with Corona, but they just want the House of Representatives and the Senate to be fair with the Chief Justice. Pia, Jing.
Thank you, Andre Figuracion.
Meantime, a leader of the Flight Attendants and Stewards Association of the Philippines is ready to testify in the impeachment trial. Andre Figuracion is reporting live on this. Andre.
Jing, the Flight Attendants and Stewards Association of the Philippines President Bob Anduiza volunteered to testify for the impeachment trial of Chief Justice Renato Corona. This is what FASAP leader Dennis Ortiz told us earlier in their protest in front of the Supreme Court. Anduiza is the first witness to be presented by the prosecution for Article 3 of the impeachment complaint. Article 3 alleges that the Supreme Court acted merely on letters from a lawyer, causing it to flip-flop with its final decisions. In October last year, the High Court took back its final decision, ordering Philippine Airlines to reinstate more than 1,400 cabin crew who were illegally retrenched in 1998. Today, FASAP demands a resolution on their case as the High Court en banc had its regular session. Inside the Supreme Court grounds, 2 fire trucks were parked for emergency purposes in case there will be a big protest action. The Unified Groups for the Advancement of Truth, or UGAT, also set up a platform in front of the SC in preparation for a mass and a prayer vigil at 5 o'clock this afternoon. The group says they are behind the Supreme Court in upholding the rule of law and that they support the Chief Justice in his fight. Jing, Pia.
Andre, thank you very much. We're going to the media briefing room now. Patricia.
A bank, the Philippine Savings Bank, or PS Bank, has sought the intervention of the Supreme Court to stop the Senate subpoena on the bank accounts of Chief Justice Renato Corona. Andre Figuracion has that story. He's reporting live from the Supreme Court. Andre.
Jing, Pia, Philippine Savings Bank filed a petition for certiorari before the Supreme Court at 11:42 this morning. PS Bank is asking the High Court to issue a temporary restraining order and a writ of preliminary injunction to stop the impeachment tribunal from implementing its subpoena, requiring PS Bank's representative to testify and bring documents referring to alleged foreign currency bank accounts under Chief Justice Renato Corona. They are also asking the High Court to nullify the subpoena. Named respondents in the case is the entire impeachment court, including Senate President and Impeachment Court Presiding Officer Juan Ponce Enrile and all the senator judges. 2 representatives from the Puno and Puno Law Office filed the petition at the Supreme Court's docket receiving section, but they refused to give any comment. Lawyers Helena Rosales Calo and Vincent Patrick Bayhon signed the petition together with Regis Puno with an attached verified certification from PS Bank President Pascual Garcia III. Jing and Pia, we are also on standby here at the Supreme Court as we anticipate the defense team to be filing their own petition for certiorari to stop the impeachment court from accepting bank documents as evidence for the impeachment trial. Jing, Pia.
Thank you, Andre Figuracion, live from the Supreme Court.
Andre Figuracion has a live report for us. Updates from the Supreme Court. Andre.
Jing, Pia, Chief Justice Renato Corona has filed 3 motions before the Supreme Court in relation to the impeachment proceedings at the Senate. The 3 motions are an urgent petition for certiorari and prohibition with prayer for an immediate issuance of a temporary restraining order and writ of preliminary injunction. They are asking the Supreme Court to stop the proceedings of the impeachment court at the Senate and to implement the resolutions on February 6, 2012. They are also asking the Supreme Court to stop the impeachment court from asking the officers and representatives of the Bank of the Philippine Islands and the Philippine Savings Bank, or PS Bank, from testifying and submitting documents in relation to Chief Justice Renato Corona and his family's bank accounts. And it's also asking to stop the impeachment court from presenting, receiving, receiving and admitting evidence related to paragraphs 2.3 and 2.4 of the impeachment complaint. Now they are asking also that after the due proceedings of after the review of the court, they are asking that the court declare the impeachment complaint null and void, prohibit the presentation and admission of evidence in the paragraphs 2.3 and 2.4, and annul the impeachment court's resolution dated January 27, 2012 and February 6, 2012, as well as any subpoena that was issued by the impeachment court. They are also asking to make the TRO, or the writ of preliminary injunction, permanent. The petition was signed by defense lawyers Jose Roy III, Jacinto Jimenez, Dennis Manalo, and Noel Lazaro. Another motion for inhibition for Justices Antonio Carpio and Associate Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno was filed by the defense also. They are asking Justices Carpio and Sereno to inhibit from hearing the case. They say that the grounds here is that they've been critical of the Chief Justice, and they've been openly touted as the likely replacements of Chief Justice Corona if ever he gets impeached or if he gets convicted by the impeachment court. And they are also asking. They also say that Carpio is has been grudging Chief Justice Corona when he was appointed Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, while Sereno openly defied and challenged the authority of the Chief Justice, listed among many things, and she was listed as among the witnesses of the prosecution. Jing Pia, if you see behind me, there's a setup going on here at in front of the Supreme Court building. We are expecting some supporters of the Chief Justice to be holding some kind of activity, either a prayer or a rosary or any kind of speech that will be attended by several personalities here at the Supreme Court. And this is the story live from the Supreme Court in Manila. Jing Pia.
Thank you, Andre Figueroa reporting live from the Supreme Court and joining us here in the studio in the Senate.